All right.
I had to add you to my host thing.
Oh,
I forgot to add you.
I
Uh,
love Twitch. It's a wonderful service.
just this should be easier.
There has to be a better way.
Okay, so now you are. I've added you as a host. Now I need to figure out how to. I'm gonna set it to auto and hope for the best.
It. Yep. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Let's do a formal introduction. Hi.
Yo,
Hello.
the most metal game is coming out. It's gonna be metal.
Guys, Total War Warhammer 3 got announced.
Looks really cool.
Hi, I'm Arbitrary Water. This is Zombie Pie.
We both like Total Warhammer 2,
And so,
and hopefully this is gonna be the good stuff, right?
yeah, we gotta capitalize on that SEO and talk about this hype new game. Like, preemptively, most excited game I'm most excited for this year.
Boy, I was not predicting that they would actually announce like a release date of today, or
Yeah,
not today, but basically
I'm gonna
this
turn off
year. I
this
was thinking,
freaking.
if anything, it would have been like next year.
Yeah,
But we have a lot to talk about.
yeah,
Just looking at this faction list, I am reminded that, boy howdy, there are some that need a lot of work. There's some that just need a couple of tweaks. And then there are some that I have literal no idea how to fix them, deal with them, or even do anything with them because
yeah.
I we joke about it a lot, but like say you got a faction like the Beastmen,
Beastman.
I don't know what you do. I literally don't know what they do, but
Also,
then there
hi, how's audio? If anyone's watching, could you please tell us how
I'm
audio is?
listening and watching at the same time, and boy, it's doing things that are weird to my ear holes.
Yeah. Okay, but
Um,
you, I just want to make sure Chris is audible.
I am audible, or I can hear myself.
All right,
I
I'm
think
just
I can
gonna.
hear myself.
Okay, I think we're good.
I think we're
I
good.
turned down the game
Um,
volume, so talking volume would
mm.
be higher.
Underrated soundtrack, probably, right?
Yeah, some of the faction music, specific music's really good. Like, I really like the Tomb King's campaign music. All right. So do we
Yeah,
just want to go faction by faction and speculate?
sure. Why not?
All right.
I Okay, so let me get to your stream because I completely fucked this up, and I'm just gonna give it up. I'm just giving up. I'm just giving up.
It's okay.
Okay, so we've got starting with, well, I guess we should like talk about what's been announced. So,
Yeah.
as it is, Total Warhammer 3's been announced. It has a 2021 release date.
Today
There
is
are going to
yeah.
be four
Chaos God.
mono Chaos God factions. So we have Slanesh, Crone,
Sneet.
Sneed. I don't know how to pronounce them,
Sneech.
but
Warhammer
basically,
fans in the chat, please feel free
I,
to give us a
I
pronunciation
know how to
guide.
read them, and my it's like what you have said repeatedly about Chaucer. I know the words, but I when you put them together, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get four factions that four of which six total. Sorry,
Yeah.
six total factions, four of which are mono chaos gods. We'll talk a little bit about
Yeah.
why that's interesting or impactful
Yeah.
later. Then you're gonna get two additional
Human
factions.
factions.
One is Kislev,
Yep.
and the
Kislev
other
and
is going
Grand
to be
Cathay.
Grand Cathay. Then there's going to be a pre-order bonus race that is not currently in the game. That's all we know, and there's a lot of speculation, which we'll talk about later.
Yep.
So starting here, we've got high elves,
Yep.
and this is something that I think is when you stop and think about which faction you don't need to do a lot to, the high elves are definitely
High elves
far
are absolutely
up that
fine.
list. They're fine as is. I think the only thing that is going to be interesting is to see how the DLC. Here's my personal theory in terms of how DLC will work. I think that each faction will go back to kind of like the original vanilla release of Warhammer 2, which is every faction has 2 free legendary lords, and then everything that's DLC. If you bought it in the previous game, you'll get it for free, and if you didn't, you're gonna have to pay for it.
Yep.
Um, so what were the free legendary lords for High Elves? It was definitely
Alithanar
Tyrion.
and Imric were the free
Oh,
LC lords.
they were the
And
free LC lords, and then
Alariel and Eltharion are the
correct,
paid
because
ones.
Alariel was the ones that Alariel's DLC was incredibly important because she introduced Sisters of Avalorn, which addressed a huge problem that base High Elves had, which is they didn't have very good
AP.
infantry
Yeah.
or like good units that could stand their ground. And when they introduced Sisters of Avalorn, the High Elves went from kind of soft and squishy to like literally one of the easiest factions to play. So that's my prediction. I think that they will give you the 2. And I think that that's just a pretty safe prediction is that all of the factions that we have in the game are going to still be in the game. Like you're not going to see like the Dark Elves not be in the game or the Skaven not be in the game, but you'll get 2 freebies.
Yeah.
And then all of the DLC, if you bought it in the previous games, they'll be in your version. And it's important to note, one of the things that they've said is that they're not going to be able to have your Steam copy communicate with the Epic Game Store copy. So if your version of Warhammer is on Epic Game Store, you need to buy Warhammer 3 on Epic Game Store. If you bought it on Steam, you must buy it
Maybe
on...
don't buy Total War Warhammer 3 on the Epic Game Store if you already own everything on Steam.
So, I mean, the only thing I would say about High Elves is that they need a target, right? Because currently all it is like, yo, beat up the Dark Elves.
Yeah. I think...
And...
Yeah. I think it depends on how their combined Mortal Empires map is going to work. If they're going to... Because they said, like 2, it's going to be a couple months because they're focusing on finishing the game before they do the big combined map.
Sure.
So,
which is kind of what they did in Warhammer 2, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Mortal Empires is DLC, which is kind of crazy to look back on in hindsight, but
because it's Vortex campaign's
the best way to play it.
Vortex campaign's real boring after you do it like twice.
Also, like certain factions are so busted in Vortex, but I would like for the High Elves to have things to go after other than the Sword of Cain.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. Like the way that, you know, I'm the one stand for Bretonia apparently on Twitch, but like Bretonia has a lot of shit to collect. And like they go on weird adventures. Like give High Elves some sort of adventure.
I think
all right, so
big combined map. I think Imric obviously has the most closest position to where Total War Warhammer 3 will happen.
Yeah.
So
and also just like, and this is going to come up especially when we talk about Empire or even vampires, like spread out the fucking leaders, spread them out more.
That's what map, 2 did a lot better.
Spread them out. They need more starting positions. I do think, though, when we talk about Kislev, Kislev is going to play a lot like vanilla. This is my theory. They're going to play a lot like vanilla High Elves, where one person protects the land and one person, the other lord, goes on adventures and explores, kind of like Lore Masters of Hoeth.
Yep.
So you're going to have Tyrion, so Katarina, and then you're going to have Katarina's brother, who's going to be on bear cavalry attacking people.
Yep. You know more about the lore than I.
But other than that, High Elves, you really just better starting positions, spread everybody out, and then give them something to do.
Yep. I think high
Okay.
elves are I think high elves are in a good place. I think lizards
Also in a good place,
also in a
but
good place. I have provoked some ire by saying that the lizards faction specific mechanics are kind of boring. But
yeah, I
as a
mean,
faction overall, I think they are really fun. It's fun to throw dinosaurs at things. They are spread across the entire map.
I like how if your faction dies, you can use the cheat button to not be dead anymore.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, kind of what I was thinking about for them. So this is another faction that I think needs to be spread out, right? Like they just need to be a little bit stretched, and I think that there should be a lizard man guy who goes for Grand Cathay.
yeah.
Um,
Do you think
and
okay? Do you think in the big combined Mortal Empires equivalent, you will be able to go from like, will it be a contiguous looping map, like a globe
oh
map?
man, it almost needs to.
So
I
like,
was thinking of like the you remember the planet based like
yeah,
system in Dawn of War, something
yeah,
kind of like that. But this is again another reminder of why I'm gonna need to upgrade my computer for this thing
yep,
because, ugh. Um, Riot of Primeval Glory, right, is probably the one I always go with.
yep.
And that's just because sometimes when I fuck up, I want a cheat button that lets me reset the campaign.
I want a big stupid stack of dinos.
The only thing I would say is I think that they should have a better research tree. You know, kind of like what the Skaven have,
Yeah,
something that's fun, or like Grandmaster Pouch's like cauldron.
yeah,
Like they should have some sort of like so they're like Aztec lizard dudes. Like
yeah,
give them some sort of like recipe system or like
yeah,
have their magic tied to some sort of better. I actually defended you, not necessarily on your blog, but like I defend you philosophically. Like they need their magic should be like their magic should be like the fucking greenskins. Like it should be a fun little mini game or mechanic.
yeah. They I think lizards are in a good place. I think the geomantic web mechanic is real boring. Um,
Yeah, it should be kind of like the shadow works of the Skaven.
I genuinely don't think most of two's races need much like touching, and
Oh
also
boy.
I think because of the location of three on the map, I bet they will be like carried over without much
Sure.
change.
And in terms of like the map, the lizardmen, like I said, at least one of them should be pointed in the
Yeah,
direction of Grand Cafe.
yeah. Need to put one near the old world so that they can interact with three's factions, but yeah, we'll see.
Other than that, they're fine.
They're fine. You got dinos.
Yeah,
All right,
Stegodons.
dark elves.
So this is the faction that I'm actually legitimately. So right now, like if we're just looking at right now, Dark Elves are in a good but not great position.
They are in need of one more lord,
Yep.
and that means they're going to be the last lord pack for two,
Yep.
which will probably
The
come out
only thing
summer.
I would say is this is the faction that I am most worried about in terms of how it translates into 3, because my big worry is that they're just going to plop the Dark Elves into Warhammer 3 as is without kind of playing around with how they relate to the Chaos Gods without or they do the absolute lowest like easiest thing they can do, which is Malekith is aligned with one god, and Mordrith
Isn't it
is
Marathi
aligned with
like a
Marathi
Slanesh cultist?
is aligned with Slanesh, and they're all aligned with one of the gods, and that's all we're gonna do.
If I remember correctly, in the lore, like, isn't it like the Dark Elves are unique among the evil factions in that they're just dicks, and not because they worship chaos gods, they're just mean?
Yeah, they practice dark magic, but they don't
Like
necessarily
some of them
support the
worship the
gods that
chaos
represent it.
gods, but some of them are just like, no, we do it for fun. We're not doing it for
Sure,
the gods. Like that's the whole thing with
that's
Helebron
absolutely
is
yeah.
like she hates Marathi because she worships chaos.
So they got to figure that part out, and then and more importantly, and so yeah, Marathi's the only one who you would need to do something in terms of like a new chaos corruption mechanic. But
Yeah.
other than that, like I said, I like how the Dark Elves play. And again, they are the definition of they need better starting positions. So is that they interact with other things than where they're
Other than yeah,
like
big evil blob. Yeah. Well, you got
big evil
Malice.
blob. Oh god. Alice, your starting position is
You
ass.
Oh, it's such a rough campaign. I love it.
Marathi's even worse because you stay on that fucking hill for what feels like
Yep,
20
you're
turns.
stuck on the Isthmus of Lustria, basically, and you've immediately got a Lithanar right here, and then
And the AI is really good in how it uses a Lithanar.
I'm playing as I'm playing a campaign with Helebron right now, and it Marathi got wiped out by a Lithanar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's rough. But I think that you preserve that part.
Yeah.
I think that I like how the Dark Elves are rough. The Dark Elves are like one of many factions. We'll talk about vampire
yeah.
counts. Where their army kind of sucks, but their lords and magic are the best.
Dark Elves have some pretty good units. Dark Shards are fucking very solid. They're for the only being the solo soul like pure ranged unit they have.
So I think the only thing that I think that is the recommendation is give them a reason to practice dark magic. That you have to figure out what their role is with all of this new all of the changes that are coming to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give them a reason to interact with all of the new shit all of the new world stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just where I stand as like this is the reason why I'm worried about the Dark Elves.
What do you want to bet that the new Lord starts somewhere near the Badlands?
I think it's that's almost a guarantee.
Because I feel like if we're talking about one last Lord pack, then they should probably put the Lord somewhere near where 3 happens.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's
so...
just Malice.
Yeah, it's like they're so far away. And that's the big problem.
Yeah, Nagarond is just it's a cold, crappy corner of the map. It's pretty secure if you're playing as Malekith, but yeah. Alright, Skaven.
They're great.
Skaven are great. Skaven get so much love.
You don't need to really do anything other than maybe make Trench not shit.
Yeah.
Just make Trench Craventail not shit.
Yeah.
You're gonna put in so many dueling legendary lords with like the new chaos factions. Like you need to make Trench not bad, but Throt is gnarly.
Throt is so good. He has such a great starting position. I think they'll add Thanquol at some point.
If we're doing like predictions, like I want fucking, and I've already said this, but I want Clan Scurvy.
Yeah.
Give me Ghost Pirate Rats. Give me Ghost Pirate Rats.
Yeah.
What do you think they need to do? Like they've got everything going in their favor.
Skaven
Like,
have literally everything. They have
the best form of corruption. Which I guess that's the one thing that you need to be careful about is they're probably going to buff chaos corruption, so don't leave vampiric corruption or undead corruption, and don't leave like Skaven corruption behind.
Yeah, but
and then like it's so easy to make them interact with like Grand Cathay. Just have an Undercity go there,
or just have move Snitch over there.
Yeah. This is another faction where you just need to move the pieces around.
Yep.
And it's very easy to do that. So, Like, literally, whatever you do, you're good. Maybe add in another legendary lord, and then
Yep.
call it a day,
Yep. Yep.
or
Add
just make Tretch
Thanquil.
better.
Have his mechanics be like all of his plans fail miserably because Gotrek and Felix are there.
And to people who are just going to buy vanilla, like Skrulk is still really good.
Yep.
Skrulk is probably the only like vanilla legendary lord that is like as strong and has always been strong because Plague is so goddamn nasty.
Cheap plague monks. Just feel the front line of plague monks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lizards don't have good archers. You could do it.
I love their catapults too. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
Plague Cat and Lore of Plague is really. Both Scave and Lore's magic are real good. Warp Lightning is just a really good bombardment spell.
And then they have the nuke. Let us
Yep.
not forget about the nuke.
Yes.
Which is, other than Lightning Strike, is probably an insta win, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Ikit Claw's ridiculous. And so's Throt, for that matter. Like, if you want to talk about DLC lords with ridiculous toys, it's those two. Alright, Vampire Coast. I don't necessarily think they'll do anything with Vampire Coast or Tomb Kings.
So here's what I'm thinking. Because the real existential issue with Vampire Coast, you have all of these legendary lords that like to refer to themselves as admirals, right?
Yep.
And every single time that CA has tried to do naval combat, it has sucked shit.
Yep.
And I don't want them to put naval combat into this game because every single time they've tried it, it has sucked shit.
Yep.
But you almost kind of need to because you have this faction. You have this faction that is all admirals, and
All
they
naval.
can't do the thing that they're supposed to do.
Oh, it's okay. They do so much more. They got gun lines.
So the only thing I would say with the Pirate Lords is like, the one thing is that it really should be Count Noctilus versus the world, right?
Yeah.
Like all of the pirates should try to kill Count Noctilus. That's the whole point.
I think all the pirates kind of hate each other, like by default. Like I believe both Luther Harkon and Aranessa's win conditions for Mortal Empire
Aranessa is almost a missed opportunity because her whole thing is she's supposed to create like the pirate council that says, "Yo, we need to fight these chaos pirates because they're giving us a bad name."
Yep.
And like I said, I think that if you're gonna say one thing that I think they should do is just add Clan Scurvy.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? Don't put Clan Scurvy and Skaven. Put them in fucking
Vampire
the pirates.
Coast. Yes.
Because they're ghosts. They're ghost pirates.
Yes, just a hybrid army of Skaven and Vampire Coast. Do it.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think you're right. They're not going to do anything.
Because I feel
Probably
like both
not
of
gonna do
these,
anything.
both of two's big race pack factions are pretty complete.
And they play so distinctly, like
Yeah.
you don't need to do anything. Like, I personally hate playing as Count Noctilus. I'm terrible at playing Count Noctilus, but I love how the AI plays Count Noctilus.
Yep. Just being a dick around the seas.
And I like their roster.
Yep.
They have such a good roster.
They get a lot of use out of that zombie pirate model.
Maybe more ghost units.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But
Okay.
and I
we
think
can go
Two
to
Kings, same thing.
all I would say, and I know that there are some people who's like, nah, that would make them too powerful. Make their magic not suck shit.
The lore of Nekahara.
Like in canon, and it's like Nekahara is such a big deal. Like it's their magic sucks shit.
Their unique lore of magic is not great. It's like okay, but listen, man, if you have a choice between doesn't Cetra
I like
has
how
lore?
their units.
Yeah.
Yes, I like how their units suck shit, but you never pay any upkeep.
Yep, their infantry is legitimately garbage, but they've got them constructs.
They've got the Casket of Souls, which
Yep.
is such a gnarly unit.
Such
Like
a
whenever I play against the Tomb Kings, and it's like there's one Casket of Souls,
Yep.
it's like, I'm gonna have to play this a very specific
Yep.
way. And as someone who plays Bretonia a lot, when I go up against the Casket of Souls, it's like,
Just
fuck.
throw all them Pegasus Knights at it. Um,
But no,
yeah.
yeah, I think that they need to rebalance their magic. They
Yep.
need to rebalance their lore. Otherwise, I like their starting positions and
They're
maybe
all
give them
across the
a
map.
lord.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all across the map. Give them another lord
Yeah.
though that sends them towards Ogre Kingdoms and Grand Cafe.
Yep. Yep.
That's it.
Give them the guy who's just a bunch of swarming swarming
Yeah, the
beetles.
Locust Plague.
Yeah. The beetle guy.
Yeah.
You know the ones, lore heads. All right, now let's go to the old world races, who I think will
Oh boy.
probably get more
Probably
touched
talk them
on.
out more. Oh boy. Empire's not in a good spot. Well, okay, Karl Franz is in a good spot, and everyone else is not. Except maybe the Huntsman.
I like Marcus Wolfhardt's campaign, but it is its own thing, and it is intentionally one of the hardest in the game.
Never waver.
Yeah. He's fun though. He's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I just don't he's one of those
Yo,
where I
look
like
at that
I can't
50% ambush chance.
yeah, I just he's the one legendary lord where I cannot play him on legendary. Because I cannot play him without being able to pause.
Yeah.
Other than that, Balthazar Gelt is in a real bad spot, and
Post Greenskin
Same
rework,
thing.
he is in a rough spot. Just-
it's not even the greenskins. He, for me, always gets like absolutely
Wrecked by the vampire
wrecked
counts.
by Manfred. Manfred just 90% of the time wrecks him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Greenskin rework also had what? They changed the vampire counts AI to be way more aggressive.
Yeah,
So
and also by removing Tempelhof from Vlad, Manfred, for whatever reason, has become even more powerful. So
Yep.
he'll usually confederate Vlad and then Isabella, and then by that point, if you're not careful, like AI Manfred is a nightmare.
Yep. I have whenever I play a game of Mortal Empires around the old world and I glance over to the Empire, it's like, oh, like this is
Two
half
electric
taken.
counts are gone.
Like half of the Empire is controlled by vampires now. It's turn 50. So
But for whatever reason, I still feel good about Karl Franz.
Yeah.
He's still good.
Yeah, I'm
I mean, here's the thing about Karl Franz is
Sigma's
that
will.
Karl Franz has the benefit of being able to attack a city within one turn.
Yep.
And Balthazar Gelt can't.
Who calls?
nope.
Volkmar the Grim, I think, can't unless you
Theogenist.
you go double speed. But like, yeah, you want to talk about like real rough spots like Volkmar the Grim. Holy shit.
The first Lord pack of the game, and it shows because they didn't quite know what they were doing yet. Jude needs another starting position, and I feel like
Yeah.
Game 3 will be their excuse to move him, like give him somewhere.
So they should move like, and the lore supports it. Volkmar the Grim should be near Kislev.
Yep.
And actually, that's what ends up killing him in the lore is that he
Oh.
goes to try and save Kislev, and then he gets eviscerated by the forces of chaos.
Yeah.
And then Reichland, and it's a whole thing. But one of them definitely should be directed towards Kislev.
Yeah.
They just need to spread them out, and like they really need to look at the whole Confederation system and lower the penalties, at least for Reichland, right? Or
Yeah.
at least for the Empire. Lower the penalties for confederating early.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're the Holy Roman Empire. They are a collection of city states.
Yep.
They should play. Do you remember Civilization 5 when they introduced Maria Teresa?
Oh,
Teresa?
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes,
she
yes,
was
yes.
able to just buy entire
Yes,
countries, and
Austria, Hungary, yes.
everyone's like, this should be a feature for everyone. It's like, nah, fuck you. That's why.
That, and then they had to nerf it super hard because
But that's how the Empire should play. Is like they should be the faction that is able to spread their borders easily. Like they're the ones that are always that they should be powerful in the beginning, and then defending all of their land should be a nightmare.
yeah, I, I, I think the Empire will probably get touched up a little bit in whatever, yeah, in whatever
They just
stuff.
other than Hellstorm rocket batteries, like
Hmm.
they have a rough position in the late game.
But they have,
And-
they have a solid, varied roster.
They're the faction that I always feel good about in terms of just if you there's no real a lot of people have pointed this out. There's no real doomstack, just create a balanced army.
Yep, and I believe Creative Assembly has said at some point like Boris Todbringer will be added as a playable legendary lord, so that'll happen probably.
But they just need to fix the buffs. They just need to fix the whole Confederation system, especially for Empire, and spread everyone out.
Yep.
But otherwise, easy fix, but it definitely needs to be fixed.
All right, now let's talk about speaking of things that need to be fixed.
Holy shit. I mean, talk about the faction that over time has gotten progressively worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like dwarfs are I got some heat when I said that dwarfs are actually, despite being in an okay place, are the most boring faction in the game.
Well, it's they don't even do the thing that dwarves benefit from. Like they're supposed to be tinkerers, they're supposed
Yeah.
to be mechanical people, and they don't even lean into it that much. Like, could you imagine if they gave you like artificers in this game?
They
How much
need
better the dwarves would
yeah,
be?
they need an engineer lord.
Yeah, and they just need to play that up. Like, I should have zeppelins. I should have fucking. Instead, you got gyrocopters.
Give
Which,
Grom Brindal a unique start to fight elves.
yeah, yeah. This is the faction that I think needs more targets.
They need
Um,
they need the most love of any of the old world factions. That is, not Warriors of Chaos or Beastmen.
But they're boring. I hate to say it, they're boring. Like you got Belagar, and he's really good in like fighting in combat. But if a legendary lord is just fighting in combat, then you're fucking up.
I just think I think their playstyle I think their playstyle is very boring, and
Yeah.
I think their unique mechanics are like they got the Rune Forge when Tomb Kings came out,
Yeah, but they didn't go far enough with that.
but it's
I
just the
feel like
mortuary cult.
yeah, I feel like so you know how like we'll talk about wood elves, but like the wood elves have the trees. Like there should be
Yep.
mountains that you go for, and you build mines, and you
Yep.
collect different gemstones, and then you can have that mechanic.
Yep. I
Like it, there needs to be more to it than we went to Kazrik 5 peaks,
Yep.
Kazrik 8 peaks. We're good, hooray!
Yep. Hey, I like that race in theory. I think they just need to.
No, yeah, just
should put
they
more to it.
need, and then also if like we're gonna talk about it very very soon. They're probably gonna buff chaos corruption and then chaos magic. Like
Yeah.
a non-magic race needs something,
Yep.
and the dwarves need something. Give them engineers, give them bombardiers, give them
What's his
Zeppelins
name?
or stuff.
Joseph Bugman.
yeah.
I-
Ooh,
I bet they'll, with the potential of chaos dwarfs, I think the regular dwarfs will probably get something, that or they'll just be left behind. All right, greenskins in a great place.
They were not in a good spot until recently.
The Wa mechanic is almost too good. You go down to the
Grimgor Ironhide
Badlands,
still sucks shit though, dog. I don't know
Grimgor
why.
has.
Grimgor is awful.
I mean,
Okay,
he's
no.
just very
Here's what I
vanilla.
want to say about. No, here's what I want to say. Goblins are good. Orcs are bad. It's so much better to play a goblin in this or Grom.
Yep.
Like
Scar
that's
6
the
campaign
thing,
is
is
still
like-
real hard, but like
Grom-
I
but
feel like
Grom's-
it's doable.
Grom's cauldron mechanic, like everyone needs to have something equivalent to that because like the cauldron, the way it impacts the way you play, the way that it benefits your units. I'm gonna bring this up when we talk about a different faction, but like they need some sort of like version of the Paragon system from Total War Troy because it's weird to have this real interesting fun faction that has like or a lord within a faction and then nobody else gets to do that thing even if you confederate Grom.
Yeah, that you can blame that on Creative Assembly's DLC philosophies. But I think greenskins are in a pretty good place. I think the only thing they really need is like slightly more varied start positions.
More varied start positions.
But they're
They're gonna have to relook
best
at
old world faction, I think.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Just relook at. So if they put in Ogre Kingdoms, Ogre Kingdoms has to be their own category, or do you think they put them in Greenskin?
No, Ogre Kingdoms are absolutely their own thing.
Okay. Other than that, they really need to relate with the new stuff. That's really it. Just spread them out. And like I said, every one of these legendary lords should have some version of the Grom's the Pouch's cauldron mechanic. Because it's weird that only one of them has it. And it doesn't need to be exactly the same for everyone, but they all should have that.
Yep.
Moving on.
These
Okay,
guys.
This is the one where I said I was going to say something that you were not going to like. It's called Vampire Counts, not fucking Necromancers Counts. Take the Barrow Legion, put them in the trash. Take fucking Helmet Gorse, put them in the trash. Replace them with vampires.
Okay, so
Red Duke, and then here's
Lamia,
my big thing.
Because they added the part on the map for the Lamian vampires, right?
Yeah.
So
And then also, I would say maybe give them a Strigori faction.
give Helmut Gorst a unique starting position,
Just get rid of Helmut Gorse.
or
He's
just
terrible.
set him on fire because his faction effects are really good, but him as a lord, he is trash. Like, generic necromancer lords have better skills than he does.
I don't understand why he buffs one like a terrible unit. Why?
His zombies get 15 armor, so they're better,
But
chaff.
skeletons are better than zombies, and no, it's not even a secret anymore.
And they both cost 0 upkeep with the tech.
Okay, on a more Sylvania's small. Like that's the part that sucks about Vampire Counts is like Sylvania's too small. They need to. So again, someone needs to be pointed towards Kislev.
Yep.
Someone. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but like the Strigoi or what? How's it pronounced?
Strigoi.
Strigoi. Give me a Strigoi legendary lord. Or
They added
know.
the Strigoi part to the map too. So, okay, here's my controversial take. They make Gorst and Isabella. They make them legendary heroes.
Ooh,
And then they
I don't know.
and then they swap them in for different lords.
Oh yeah, that's a good suggestion. Maybe we get some vampire lords in Cathay. Ooh, like Chinese zombies.
Yes,
Chinese
Jiang
zombies.
Shi.
Jumping Chinese zombies. That's an actual legitimate
Jiang
good
Shi
idea.
vampires.
I think that Isabella you have to keep because she ties into Manfred and Vlad too much. But yeah, I think get rid of Helmut Gorse. He's terrible, and I'm willing to get rid of the Barrow Legion.
I like Kemmler.
But he's more of like a hero.
No, because he's got Krell. Who is a hero.
Right, he does have Krell.
He summons an undead chaos champion.
It fucks me up that the Red Duke is in the fucking campaign, but you can't play him.
I think they said they were going to add the Red Duke at some point. Like, as
they
a
still
playable.
haven't.
Yeah, who knows?
So they need more starting positions, and also, so vampire corruption.
Yep.
Vampiric corruption. It's the second most powerful corruption mechanic because the most powerful corruption mechanic is Skaven corruption because the Undercity is fucking busted.
Yep.
But vampiric corruption is more powerful right now than chaos corruption, and it's a problem. And I think that it pains me to say this, but they need to nerf it because it shouldn't be as strong as it is. And then also give Vlad Tempelhof again.
Yep.
Because as a result of taking away Tempelhof, there's no threat to Manfred.
Yep. Okay. Let's talk about Nagash.
Right.
Do you think they will add Nagash to Total War Warhammer 3?
He's the definition. He's like up there with Marienburg and Tilia as like definite DLC lords, but I don't know if you make Nagash mono or you add Nagash with vampires.
Like, is the Undead Legion of Nagash its own faction, or is it part of the Vampire Counts and he just gets to recruit Vampire Coast and Tomb King units?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he has an obvious start position, and that is close to the Darklands where 3 is going to take place.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. If you're going to do mono gods, chaos gods, then I think that Nagash deserves to be in that umbrella of mono.
Yeah, I think Nagash will be a DLC faction somewhere down the road, as like a counter to the Chaos Invasion. Like, you have to deal with Nagash from the south, while Chaos is coming from the north. But we will see.
Oh boy, man, we got a faction that needs a lot of love.
And now we get into our Norskin boys.
One of these is fine, the other is fucking boring.
Throg has a bad start position.
With Kislev, so I think that the Norska definitely, we've talked about it on our Discord.
Yeah.
Norska definitely should be its own faction.
Yep.
They are the faction that literally benefits the most. The current faction that benefits the most from Kislev being added to the...
Yep, because now they have a more interesting start than just confederating the Norscan Peninsula and then kind of just fighting the Empire and Bretonnia forever.
Because right now they just have nothing to do.
Yep.
And also, like, even taking Wulfric and having him interact with the Empire takes so long.
I like Norska, but I feel like their campaign, they need another start position. They need to start somewhere other than the Norscan Peninsula, which is ironic, but they should stay their own faction, distinct from Chaos.
Here's what I think. I think that they add in Troll Country into them.
Yeah.
And they give them... Because they already have Throg, so Troll Country would be a good addition to them. And then also they have to fix, and we're going to talk about it because we got the 3 factions from now. So 1, 2, yep, 3. We got a faction to talk about. Actually, no, 2. We got a faction to talk about that they really need to figure out what the fuck to do with mono units or, one large units because
Yeah.
the way that those units scale is terrible in the current meta. But if you add in a bunch of trolls, they've got to figure out like the way that large units
Throg
work.
should be able to recruit the new greenskin troll units. He should be able to recruit
Yeah.
swamp and mountain trolls.
Yeah. But yeah, add in troll country, give them and yeah, however you figure it out. Also, this is related. The way that the pillaging mechanic works needs to be relevant for the late game.
Yep.
Like sacking settlements is really good in the start and then not so good at the end.
Yeah.
And also, this is going to relate to when we talk about chaos, which is the faction that I expect to see the greatest change. Is like, again, chaos corruption just doesn't do what you want it to do.
Yep. Yep. I think Norska as a faction, I think they play well, but they just need a little more variety in a campaign because every Norska campaign's gonna be kind of the same, just because of where they are positioned. Like Wolfric starts at war with Bretonia, so
And getting him to get to Bretonia sucks.
yep, you gotta go down and around, and yeah. All right, speaking of
Send
Bretonia,
them all to Kislev. Send them all to Kislev.
yep. I don't think Bretonia is getting anything.
Okay, you say that, but what if... And here's what I think. What if Bretonia started to play a lot like Medieval 2 Total War? What if
Okay.
they added in a crusading mechanic? Okay?
Uh-huh.
What if they actually made the merchant system good? And what if they got rid of Alberic and replaced him with something good?
What if they gave Alberic like
Better buffs other than trade?
better buffs other than like? Don't get me wrong, 25% trade income, very good. It makes Bordelot like a. But him as a lord, he is barely better than the generic Bretonian lord. He just has anti-large.
Now I'm going to bring up the issue of the Total War Troy Paragon system, wherein you
Yes.
basically take basic units, send them to school, and make them less shit.
Yep.
This is the faction that should have that mechanic.
Yes.
It makes the most sense to
Yes.
give this to this faction, the Paragon system. Like, actually taking your page and your squires and training them.
They also have, they already have the Grail Vow system, so just
which is
kinda-
actually
yeah.
a good mechanic. I like the
I
Grail
like-
Vow system.
I like the Vow system.
A lady, but also the lady should be kind of like the Pope in Medieval 2
Yeah.
Total War, where she, allows you to, once you do enough good stuff, you can declare a crusade.
Yep. Bretonia, they are my least favorite faction to play in battle, but in campaign, I think they're totally fine.
They're totally fine. They're a lot of fun. I really like Hippogriff Knights.
I'm bad at
but yeah.
cavalry micro.
You just don't like the micro. I like playing them kind of like Medieval 2 Total War. You just get a bunch of cavalry, you swarm the enemy, and then the game is over. They're the most mindless, fun, and also Leonker. When I am
He's
not
a
playing
beast.
Bretonia and I need to fight Leonker, it's a big, where's my bottle of scotch?
Motherfucker
Because
starts with the blessing of the lady, and a Grail Vow, and he has regen.
they're also, yes, they are irritating in sieges, so you need to give them better fucking siege equipment because...
Blessed trebuchets.
So, Empire has fucking, warlike cannons.
Well, listen,
Give them
gunpowder
something.
is unchivalric.
They need something.
Also, just here's a side thing for me. It sucks that one of their generic lord types, the Grand Prophetess, is completely useless because
Yep.
uh, they don't get the upkeep discounts on Bretonia's higher tier cavalry. And you kind of need that because Grail Knights at base have an upkeep of like 1,000 per turn.
So
Something
this is why I'm
ridiculous.
saying, like, add in the
Yeah.
crusade mechanic from Medieval 2, because when you use a crusade in that game, it lowers your recruitment costs.
Yep.
If you declare a unit as being part of a crusade, basically you drop their upkeep. They're doing it for
Yep.
free.
Yep.
But also, and I should have said this earlier with the Empire, every single legendary lord should be connected with one of the Chaos Gods.
Yep.
Like, you should be given tasked to take down one of the Chaos Gods.
Yep.
And the same thing with Bretonia. Each of them should be assigned to fight and defeat one of the Chaos Gods.
Yep.
And especially if they do what I think they're going to do with Chaos, the Warriors of Chaos, which is they're going to introduce a certain unit or a certain legendary lord that people have been begging for that
Yep.
starts with the letter B.
Yep.
They're going to have some nasty Chaos Undivided business coming towards them.
Yep. All right. Wood Elves just got reworked.
They're in an interesting position because the two mechanics that I think would have really translated well into Warhammer 3, which is the Outpost and the Amber system, have basically been completely eviscerated.
Yep.
And
I bet they will add some more forests on that part of the map.
yeah, they're gonna add in more forests.
I think the Wood Elves like playstyle is, the build tall, not wide, and like you can pick and choose where in the world you want to like deal with people. I think that's fun. But I also think I don't think they're gonna get very much.
I think that at most you will see Orion not be terrible.
Yeah.
Um,
Just lore wise, it seems like they don't have a ton of reason to be all the way out.
you literally need to maybe add in more woods, especially in the new parts of the map. Maybe even send us to Grand Cathay.
Yeah.
But the buffs are fine as is. I almost wish that it was more connected with their research tree.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big thing is like, what the fuck are they going to do with the Outpost and the Amber mechanic? Because I actually don't like the Wood Elves post buff as a result of what they've done with the Outpost and the Amber mechanic.
Outposts are like completely useless. Like, Wood Elves are not good at holding territory that is not a magical forest, which is, I guess, the point.
I guess it works with the lore, but I mean, it makes playing them
build
if you
tall,
like
not
to
deep.
if you like to turtle, they're the faction for you.
Yeah, no, they're fun. They're a fun turtle campaign, and it's fun to have a campaign that is not just paint the map, but also.
And like, this leads to the real talk of like the win conditions for Warhammer 3 need to change.
Yeah.
How
Oh
you
yeah.
win as they need to do something.
Let's talk about Mortal Empire's win conditions and how it's kind of bullshit that it's like, if you want a short campaign victory, you need to capture like 8 important landmark capitals.
Because then you have factions like Wood Elves where that's like to your disadvantage.
Well, Wood Elves don't have to do it. They just have to heal the forests.
Yeah, they just need to heal the forest. But even then, like,
Vampire Coast
man.
is, they're a semi-horde faction. And in Vortex, you can very much get away with playing them like that. But in Mortal Empires, you've got to conquer territory because you need to capture 8 faction capitals or whatever.
it's terrible. Like, they need to fix the win condition.
It's too much. It's a little too long, and I think this is one of the things that's going to require like a big ol' economy rebalance, and I am not smart enough to figure out how to do that, but I think the general pace of the campaign should be a little faster.
Sure. But also variable win conditions.
Yep, variable win conditions. I think it's good that it's like you need to defeat these guys that your faction hates in the lore, but actually having to like the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 hours of any given campaign, and this is why I have not finished very many campaigns, is just clean up.
Yeah, it's just mopping up. And it's not fun.
It's like, okay, well, now I'm just
Oh
gonna,
god.
yeah, back and forth attrition. Okay, yeah, now let's talk about the faction most desperate need of love.
I don't know what you do. It's a triple whammy, right? So one, they're a horde, and hordes are bad.
Bad.
Two, they rely on chaos corruption, and that mechanic is bad. And three, mid to late game, they rely on large units, and the balance for large units, as I said earlier, is bad. Um, I don't know why. Okay, so you would have to fix all three of those things, and then you would have to give me a reason to play them if you're going to add in mono chaos gods.
Yep.
And I don't see the point.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that for the last two Lord pack, they add a Beastman Lord? Is it going to be Dark Elves versus Beastmen, or is it going to be Dark Elves versus like Vampire Counts or Dwarves?
I think it's vampire counts and dwarves.
All right. So yeah, Dark Elves versus Vampire Counts.
Let's talk about why Beastmen suck.
They were the first faction pack in the game, and
It shows.
it shows because they have a pretty limited roster. Like they are a solid army in like competitive if you are good at rushing, but that's all they can do. They have, lightly armored rush faction with questionable leadership. That's their thing, but they do not have the unit variety that other factions have. Their unique lore of magic is okay, but it's not amazing. And
They are also they have really bad meta in the late game.
also they have the old version of the WA mechanic, which is, boy.
Yeah, hordes suck. I hate to say it, but
I know
like,
people like the Horde Amazons in
yeah,
Troy.
that's good. I was gonna say, like, if you want to rebalance the horde mechanic, you should use the Amazonian mechanic of it.
I
but
bet
even
they'll do
then,
something like that.
but even then, it's like, how are you gonna make them relate with all of this new stuff?
The Forgotten
'cause you're
Children
gonna
of
add in
Chaos.
You're also going to add in the ogre kingdoms,
in
and
the
they are
lore
so much.
and the game.
You're gonna add in ogre kingdoms, and they're also very similar, except they have a very good target towards like Grand Cathay.
Yeah.
I don't see what you do with
Good
these
news
guys.
about
I
the
mean,
Beastmen is that you can spread them out, like lore-wise.
yeah, I mean, I think one of them should go to Grand Cathay.
Yeah. I think at some point Beastmen will get a rework.
And I forgot to say this with the Wood Elves, but the Wood Elves should be directed towards the Beastmen. They're the antithesis of the Wood Elves.
Beastmen and Wood Elves are natural enemies.
But they never interact with each other.
And yeah, the Beastmen should fight the Wood Elves.
The Beastmen should be burning all of the trees down to the goddamn ground. That should be their mission objective.
Because they don't just hate the Empire. They also hate
nature.
Which, yeah, they are the corrupted forces of nature. They want to burn the Oak of Ages to the ground.
But they never do that, and there's no real reason for you to do that. And then also, they need to be better. Like, Warhammer 3 needs to have druidic magic. Like, Wood Elves should have druids that are summoning animals and shit, and the Beastmen should have some sort of, like, evil druidic magic.
Yep.
So here's the list. I think this is the list we created. Fix the way that hordes work. Fix the way that chaos corruption works. Fix the way that large units work. And fix the way that they work in the lore to direct them towards Wood Elves.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the Beastmen have a lot of easy fixes.
Yep. Literally just revamp their entire faction mechanics. Easy peasy.
They're in a bad way, man. They're in such a
They
bad
they are
way.
they are probably the single, like, I guess in lore they're one of the weaker factions, but they need some love because I think they're actually pretty fun to play in battle. Because
They have really cool looking
they
units.
have really good, like, they are a really good bum rush army.
And I think that's cool. Like, especially, you know what? Like, if you're gonna do Druidic magic, have like someone summon trees to where you
Yep.
can hide in them and do hit and run
Yep.
shit, right?
Yep. They need some help. And then, all right, let's talk about.
Last but not least, because holy shit, we've got a lot to talk about with these
Yep.
guys.
Yep. All right.
So, Warriors of Chaos. Okay, so one of these things is not like the other. One of these things does not belong.
What are you talking about?
Sigvald,
Sigvald is beautiful.
bye bye. You're going to fucking your baby
Okay.
mama, Slanesh.
Okay, let's talk.
Okay,
So,
you go.
Chaos.
Shoot, shot.
Chaos, Warriors of Chaos, the pre-order DLC for the first game have not gotten a ton of love since then. With Game 3 being Chaos focused, how do they deal with these red-headed stepchildren?
So, I think, and this is not a secret, you turn them into Chaos Undivided.
Yep.
You give them their full roster. You send Sigvald to Slanesh.
You give,
Um,
Kolek to Korn?
I think you could.
Or,
I think that Kolek can stay.
okay.
Um, unless you want to put him. He's a dragon.
Ogre.
He's a dragon ogre. I don't know if you want to put him into Ogre Kingdom. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Just give them their full roster, literally.
Yep. Like,
And then
I
fix
think, yeah.
fix chaos corruption. I've said this 100 times. It's not working. It doesn't do the thing.
Chaos corruption needs to prevent or, like, significantly disadvantage resettlement if you are going to keep them purely horde. Which, maybe I with monogod factions, like, I think that's potentially really exciting because that means, like, they can go as far as saying, like, Slanesh plays very differently from Khorne, despite them both being horrific demon chaos factions.
It is important to note, and one of the most misunderstood units in Warriors of Chaos is Sarthoriel, the Everwatcher.
Yes.
He's man, you want to talk about like crocs of shit. The fact that he is only playable in custom battle
Yep.
and not playable ever.
Yep. It's
What
it's
a bunch
bullshit.
of shit.
Give-
They made his character model.
Sarthoriel
you-
should be one of the lords for Sneech. Zneech? Zneech.
Yeah, it is Zenich.
Yeah, Zneech.
So that's at least we know one Zenich's thing. But they
Yeah.
created the character model and they gave him magic,
Yep.
and then they didn't let you play.
Yeah, the only chaos. Yeah, lore of metal, I think, which is
Yes.
that's a pretty good lore. Yeah, in I guess in the multiplayer, yeah, he's the meta choice, but in campaign you can't play as Sarthoriel.
It's weird.
What's up with that?
So yeah, I literally, man, it's gonna be weird to look at. It's gonna be weird to look at what they do with Warriors of Chaos. So the way that I've heard it, and the way that I want to see it is like if you sack a settlement as chaos. If you sack a settlement as chaos, that chaos corruption gets stronger for every time it is not, resolved by order.
Yep.
And that's what I think you do. I think that the chaos wastes definitely need to be filled in.
I think in 3 they even said like the Chaos Realm is going to be part of it.
Wow,
So
really?
yes, that's what they've been saying. So I think okay, here's my speculation about how the way they will handle the Monogod factions is uh the chaos gods will be able to, settle and have cities and stuff in the chaos realm, but in the realm of the mortals, they are only able to uh be a horde faction.
Also, give them Bellicor.
Yep, give them Bellicor. The here's the thing. What is it? There are 9 legendary lords confirmed for launch for 3. So if Cathay and Kislev both start with 2, and each of the Monogod factions starts with 1, then that leaves one left, and I think it's going to be Bellicor. That's my prediction, and he's going to be the Dong Zhuo of that campaign.
Oh God.
He's going to be like the bad guy everyone hates.
Yeah. Um. Other than that, so what is your theory about the pre-order bonus?
Yes.
Because I think that it's gonna be Chaos Dwarves, and you were thinking it's gonna be Ogre Kingdoms.
I think it's going to be. I think it could be Chaos Dwarves because Chaos Dwarves are way less work than Ogre Kingdoms, just in terms of like modeling and rigging, and because the Chaos Dwarf roster, they're still dwarves, and they also have goblins, whereas Ogre Kingdoms you would need to like rig up a bunch of new monstrous infantry.
And just to clarify, like Ogre Kingdoms are not just ogres; they
Yeah.
are
Noblars.
They're like, yes, they are basically. So if they're gonna add in Grand Cathay, they're like the Chinese dragon, like
Yeah.
Imperial China faction. Ogre Kingdoms would be Mongolians,
Yep.
like the fucking Mongol horde.
They also ride like giant rhinos.
Yeah,
They
man.
got monstrous cavalry.
So if
and
they're gonna add in
Ogre
Grand
Kingdom's
Cathay,
ranged units, they're literally just carrying around cannons and filling them with scrap.
yep, yep,
So,
it's great.
It's great. Like,
I really. So if they're gonna add in Grand Cathay, they need to give them a target,
Yep.
or they're gonna need to be a target for someone, right? So I think that's a good prediction.
but I think they will require more work than a pre-order DLC probably has the budget for.
Sure.
So,
So what do you think vanilla Warhammer 3 is going to look like?
uh,
Let's say that I've never played Warhammer 2. I've never played Warhammer 3. I've heard this Arbitrary Water and Zombie Pie talk about this game a
that's
lot.
right.
And I buy Warhammer 3. What do you think vanilla Warhammer 3 looks like?
Okay, so apparently they've said the starting map is the map for, their Vortex equivalent is going to be twice the size of the Vortex map.
Good.
So it's going to be roughly
Alright.
the size of Mortal Empires.
Okay, cool.
So I think you get the Darklands, you get Grand Cathay, and you get the Realm of Chaos, which is probably just to the north of the Chaos Wastes. It just degrades into the Realm of Chaos.
Okay.
And I think there's going to be, like Vortex, it's going to be very objective focused, not as much painting the map. I have no idea what you do, but I imagine like both Cathay and Kislev have to deal with internal conflicts, and then also try to stop a full-on chaos invasion. And I think the Mortal Empires equivalent does not come until next year.
That's a good prediction. It will be interesting to see how quickly I can take all of my DLC and put it into that game.
Yep.
Like, am I gonna be able to play Vampire Counts
Witness my beauty.
in the Warhammer 3 campaign?
Yeah. Will
Um,
old world races be part of the 3 campaign from the start?
Or are they just going to have the map take place in this area where they've kind of pointed to?
Yeah.
It will be interesting. It is still my most anticipated game, but it's also something to where I predict that a game. All right, real talk.
I didn't realize Sigvald had a thigh gap.
Yeah, he wears like a battle bikini.
Well, he is the most seductive son of Slanesh.
Yes. But also, real talk. Do you think that this game, Warhammer 3, is going to launch hot?
Oh, it's not gonna be Rome 2 hot, because everything I've heard about Rome 2's launch suggests like they
Oh, it
should
was
have
bad.
delayed that game a year.
Yeah, it was real bad.
Like that game is now in a good place, but when Rome 2 launched, it was just busted.
It was really busted. But I don't. I'm kind of worried that like they're gonna launch with like that very smaller campaign, that really small campaign, and then people are like, "Where's all my old shit? Where's it all? I want to be vampires."
I don't think you're gonna get the Mortal Empire's equivalent until like early 2022. I think it's gonna take them a
Rapance.
couple months.
So I can see something like Bretonnia being added as a good sort of crusade faction, like the one in the desert. That's Rapance.
Yeah,
I like Rapance. Her campaign's fun.
I like Rapance has the most fun campaign of anyone in Bretonnia.
You don't like Leon Kerr, and you're a babby.
Yeah, I'm a hater.
Handsome.
Bay Enchantress is also fun. Their magic is good.
I
Um,
I wanna
I just don't like Albert de Bartolo. I'm a simple man.
I wanna know what a Slanesh campaign is like. Do you have to spend points to corrupt like mortal factions and then have them like be vassals to you?
Oh, I didn't realize that he's got like bat nipples.
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
his
he's got
armor, too.
Batman nipples. Of course he does.
Slanesh is gonna be the hardest of the Chaos Gods to add into the game.
I want to see like not even just like the part where it's like, hey, are they gonna have the naked bits? Because if they want to keep the game rated T, and they probably do, they won't. I imagine Games Workshop has a thing or two to say about the nakedness of the Slanesh roster.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe Blood for the Blood God DLC
Yep.
now includes nipples.
Nip for the Nip God.
I love how that's how they got around the T for teen rating
Yeah.
when, like, especially on the PC side of things,
Yeah.
like, the ratings means nothing because
Ratings
no one's
mean-
selling.
You can buy
anything
hardcore
physically anymore?
pornography on Steam now.
This man is not lying.
I filter it out. The only weird stuff I want is visual novels.
And if you search for a visual novel on Steam, it's a fucking wasteland.
It's a wasteland.
So, yeah, it's like, so you got Cone, who's literally going to be the easiest ever.
Corn is straightforward, because Corn is literally
Blood
just...
Knights, fucking charge, angry.
Rah.
Blood. They show you the bloodthirster that you
Yep.
care about.
Corn is gonna be the most straightforward. I bet they can only raise settlements.
Yeah.
I
Then
think-
then they need to like actually make the EXP boost for raising settlements actually good.
and yeah, like give them... Corn needs to have like the most ridiculous strong infantry, but isn't lore-wise Corn hates magic, so probably wouldn't have very much magic, if at all.
So he has blood magic, which is
Okay.
considered its own thing. So
Okay.
like
So lore
Like,
of
you're not
Corn.
gonna Corn's not. You're not gonna see soldiers in Corn not breathe fire, right?
Okay.
But yes, he doesn't like the fiddly stuff.
Yep.
Um,
Whereas Sneech is all about that
Sneech is-
magic.
all about
access to every lore of Magic.
Yeah.
Just let me use the green skin spells as a Lord of Change. Okay, I want a
And
Lord of
Plague
Change that has random spells every battle.
are there any ranged units in the roster for Corn? Do you count Breathing Fire or Fireball?
I have no I imagine Khorne is probably going to be the closest to the current Warriors of Chaos roster. Like,
Yeah.
at most, they will have skirmishers, but they are not going to be the ranged units.
Nah, man, didn't you see the trailer, dog, where they fucking have goddamn Blood Knights charging into battle against Cossacks? Cossacks?
Yep. Yep. Bear Cossacks. Good shit.
The influence mechanic being used for Chaos Gods? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would just say it will be. They got to fix Chaos Corruption. It sucks so bad.
They're gonna fix Chaos Corruption. I feel like the reason Chaos has been neglected for so long is because all of their ideas are in Game 3.
So, I mean, because. Yeah. Do you think that you can, like, recruit or convince other factions to join you? Or do you think that. I mean, obviously, you can't have the Chaos Gods confederate other Chaos Gods like that, so that makes sense, right?
I think there could be like something kind of like what Norska does, where once you beat all the other Chaos factions, you become Ever Chosen, and then you can raise the mortal world.
So you got Khorne, we've already talked about.
Sinech.
Sinech, he's gonna probably have kind of
Tricky.
Thrott's mutation mechanic, and like you're making nothing but abominations, but probably bigger abominations.
I imagine a roster that is very much like Tricky and has a bunch of just the most ridiculous magic. So kind of like Vampire Counts, where maybe their base units aren't great, but they just have so much magic everywhere.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Nurgle, Plague is already nasty. Just take the Plague mechanic from the Skavens.
Yep.
You literally don't even need to do anything because it's already bad.
It's good. You have a bunch of tanky units, I think, with Nurgle. You get a bunch of poison. Maybe super poison.
Or rotting corpses from, like,
bloated corpses
pirates.
from the coast, yeah. Nurglings. That's going to be fun. Yeah, I think they're just gross, rotty boys.
Yeah, Slaanesh is probably the odd man out. It will be interesting to see how his faction works because it's nothing but leather daddies and
dominatrix
demons. Stuff, and I don't know. Like, his whole mechanic is like influencing, so there's got to be like some sort of hypnosis mechanic where it's like, I can trick your units to fight you.
Yep.
Wah.
Yep. I think campaign-wise, I think Slaanesh is definitely... Slaanesh and Sneech, I could see definitely being able to, like, corrupt and vassalize mortal factions.
Well, with Sinech, it makes more sense because you're like, I need to get a human from Bretonia, and if I marry the Bretonia, merge them with the fucking ogre, then I get this monster.
Yep. Just, yes, the plans within plans.
With Slaanesh, it's just like, I don't know what Slaanesh's magic looks like.
Pain
I don't know
and pleasure are two sides of the same coin. Very interested to see how they make Slaanesh play. And then I do think there might be some sort of chaos, undivided pseudo-faction.
Yeah, and with that, I would say, like I said,
Belkor.
Keep Kolek. Unless you really think that Kolek can go to one of the gods, which I'm not against. But then you would keep Archaon and just give him Belkor, and then give them a full roster, because that's the biggest problem with Chaos right now, is that they don't have a full roster.
They have the scariest infantry in the game, but it's all pretty corn centric.
And, you know, if we're being honest, like, the fact that they are infantry focused is a problem.
They, I'm to understand in the multiplayer meta, they're not in a great place right now.
Not as bad as Bretonia.
Not as bad as Bretonia, but
I don't like playing infantry focused factions in Warhammer 2 right now. I like the archery factions. I like the magic factions.
I like
even if I'm bad at casting magic.
Yeah, I like throwing 1,800 chariots at you, playing as the Tomb Kings.
I like, you know, getting extra winds of magic and then casting. One of my favorite like Doom stacks is just get a bunch of vampire lords and then have like a bajillion winds of magic.
Yep, just to cast Wind of Death over and over again.
Wind of Death over and over again.
And Invocation of the Heck.
But yeah, I mean, with Warriors of Chaos, I'm okay with you keeping Warriors of Chaos or Chaos Undivided, but then you got to fix the way that Chaos magic works.
Yep. A lot of work ahead of them. And
it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be messy because of the way, you know, this is technically DLC for the first game, and Creative Assembly probably doesn't want to, you know, give these away for free, so...
But
yeah.
It's going to be weird. I don't know. Yeah, like that's... You talk about DLC, like I said, it would not surprise me if at launch it's going to be rough to go from this roster, this massive
15,
roster,
yep,
to a small roster.
to
It's kind of
9.
like when it's going to be kind of like what fighting game fans feel when they go from like Super Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 5. It's like,
Yep.
oh, right.
I think it's going to be like... Wasn't the transition from 1 to 2 kind of the same way, where people were like, oh, it's just this Vortex campaign's weird, and there are only 8 lords at the start?
But that's ignoring the fact that Warhammer 1 was okay.
Yeah.
Warhammer 1 was fun, but like
2 is
Creative
where
Assembly was still
Yeah.
focused on the history games.
And then 2 came
what
out, and they
happened?
just went wild with it. They said, oh, we can do weird stuff.
Which is why I'm excited about Grand Cathay, because
Yep.
in lore, we don't have a lot to work with, so that gives them carte blanche.
Yep.
And so then
yeah.
that means if like Grand Cathay's fun, then maybe, you know, you get Araby, maybe you get Tilia, maybe you get Marienburg.
I think Dogs of War, yeah, Tilia and Marienburg. I think
Dogs of War?
which are that's the Southern Realms, right? I think they could be the other pre-order faction, because Dogs of War is, you know, mercenaries, so
It's just a bunch of mercenaries that are themed to like
to the Southern Realms.
Southern Realms.
So I think that would fit in, because they probably don't require a ton of work in terms of like modeling, because it's just units from all over the game.
But I don't
know.
I don't want to say this. Like, I really don't want to say this, but I don't think I'm going to make the full hard pivot to 3. Like, I'm still going to play 2 until it gets as big as it is.
I think until the big Mortal Empires equivalent happens, I think that's going to be a lot of people. I still need to play more Three Kingdoms.
From 1 to 2, from 1 to 2, I felt like it was like, okay, this is a vastly superior game. This is like it's small roster, but I can get through it. But like, I'm not going to give any of you a number, but I put a lot of money into this game.
I own every DLC for this game, except Blood.
I
refuse to pay money for Blood.
I have it because I bought it from 1.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, what do you think in terms of like I'm excited. I think you're excited, but like what are your fears?
I am afraid that that 3 will launch hot,
Yep. That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, oh damn. The copy of Enchanted Arms I bid on was someone outbid me for $5.25.
How high are you gonna go?
$10 American dollars is the most I would pay for a copy of Enchanted Arms for the Xbox 360. Plus shipping.
Ugh. Yeah, that's always the thing about eBay is that they don't tell you about how much they're going to charge you for shipping, which is such bullshit. But anyways, what is your word? So it's going to launch hot. I think it is going to launch hot.
I am afraid that they will not completely fix the way Horde factions work or Chaos works, and so it's going to be some of those Chaos factions are just going to be boring. That's one of my fears.
That would literally be the worst thing possible.
Yeah. Because, yeah, you can justify them, like, having a Norska style, like, you can conquer enemy capitals sort of thing, but Horde factions are boring. Like, Nakai was an attempt to kind of try to address the problems of Horde factions, but he's still just really boring. And also, yeah, you know, it sounds like the transition to work from home was pretty rough for Creative Assembly.
Yeah.
Based on what they said, you know, around the time of the Wood Elf rework. So, yeah, I just hope they have the time they need. They don't have to crunch. What are your fears?
My fear is that they're just going to start plopping stuff in to that Vortex campaign without fixing or balancing anything. It's like, hey, you guys wanted your Dark Elves. Here's a Dark Elf, dude. We're going to give you Malachor. Everyone's favorite.
Yep.
Hooray. And like I said, I don't know that they will have done the So this is all going to lead to a giant campaign, like a giant, super big campaign.
Mega
and
campaign.
It's like, oh, you've buffed Chaos Corruption. Great! How's that going to interact with Skaven Corruption or Vampire Corruption or that weird Blessed mechanic with the lizards?
Yeah, Velar and Endymion putting up a good point is like, yeah, I hope they bring forward a lot of the engine improvements from Three Kingdoms and Troy. Cause
I mean, I think that's a given.
yeah, I hope that's a given. Like, because here's the thing, I have quite a good. This is quite a good recent computer. Not quite top of the line, but this thing's fucking solid. I have to, even with like large unit scale and stuff, this game still sometimes it's like, oh, it dropped below 60 frames a second. I think there are technical things. You hope that turn timers on the big combined map won't be like minutes long.
I feel like the Civilization franchise does that shit better.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, if you're invisible to me, then just speed through it.
Yep.
But, you know, the other thing is, like, they're going to need to fix diplomacy.
Yep.
They're going to need to fix so many mechanics that I hate in this game, like trade. Fucking Alberic.
They need to put in stuff from. I think they should incorporate some of that stuff from Three Kingdoms, because I think.
Yeah, because Three Kingdoms has the best.
What I've played of Three
system.
Kingdoms, like it's like, oh, actually, like you are incentivized to actually engage diplomatically instead of painting the map.
Like, it's the best AI also.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even talk about it, but the AI in this game still sucks.
It's
They're
still
terrible
very
at
dumb.
sieges.
And higher difficulties just let them cheat harder.
Yeah, it's like they buff them. It's not even like they get smarter.
That's why I play on hard, because that's like the most I'm willing to deal with.
Yeah. The auto accept feature for diplomatic deals is such a blessing.
Yeah. Also, auto battle, freaking, you need to balance auto battle, Creative Assembly. Like, I know it's probably a mess.
Why is it that my mortars are always the first units to die completely
Why
in the auto battle?
why are Skaven so disadvantaged in auto battle, and why are undead so disadvantaged? Is it because their raw stats are lower? But
I mean, if you want to talk about something that really pisses me off, is like if you force march and you break your units during force march,
yeah,
even if you're against trash, auto says that you have a higher chance of losing, which is bullshit.
Like, yeah, your units start tired, but generally speaking, I feel like you can compensate for that. Alright, yeah, and sieges. Fix sieges. That's the last thing.
It's all bad.
Like,
It's really bad.
They previewed some of that in Eltharian's campaign, Eltharian and Grom. Like, their Vortex campaign has a special siege battle that people liked. So do more like that.
Like defensible settlements.
Yep.
Because some of the settlements I'm okay with them all being different, but man, are there some settlements that suck.
Fix it.
Someone not having towers sucks.
Listen, Creative Assembly, you've already done a lot.
You worked through the pandemic to give us a hopefully good game.
This is,
and I'm willing to give them. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt with like certain things. Like, okay, if it's a small map, fine, perfect, as long as it plays well and you've shown in a lot. And you know what? The nice thing about a smaller map, they can add in extra details that normally would not exist, right?
Yep. I'm very excited.
I'm excited. This is gonna be cool. I think that it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a long wait because it's not
it's
coming out until
yeah. I think you were right. Like, and I'll sign off a
September
little bit,
at the earliest.
We're gonna. The way that we feel about Total Warhammer 2, with like, oh man, it's a lot. It's all this wonderful content. Like, we're not gonna make. I'm not making the full switch to 3 for. It'll be an extra year.
The inevitable ranking of factions blog won't happen for a while.
Because I don't know, we don't even have a timetable when they're going to start adding in all of our current DLC.
Yep. Hey,
do you think that they introduce like a season pass where it's like, all right, we realize that we have so much DLC in 2 that it's probably you're not going to be incentivized to buy it all, so
some sort of like catch-up bundle.
Yeah, we're gonna bundle all of the stuff from the last game, so
I wonder what the conversion rate is on that older DLC, on the DLC.
I think some people did the math, and the DLC that translates from 1 to 2, it's actually to your benefit to just buy it in 1.
Yeah. But I mean, like, in terms of, like, how many people who have bought the game have also bought a ridiculous amount of DLC. I bet it's a really high percentage compared to their other games.
I think that's why they spent a lot more time with Warhammer than Three Kingdoms.
Yeah,
but
Three Kingdoms got the southern tribes.
Yeah, and Three Kingdoms is still being supported.
Troy, on the other hand, I guarantee, I bet Ajax and Menelaus is going to be the last thing for that game.
Yeah.
Troy is neat.
The state of the Total War historical side of things is interesting. Three Kingdoms might be it for a while.
Yep. Well, Medieval 3 is the one that people are speculating for 2022.
Yeah. I have a lot of love for Medieval 2.
All right. You want to call it
All right,
here?
man. So, yeah, I'll call it here. I guess I will go from being a participant to your viewer for your Alpha Protocol stuff.
I'm gonna take a 20-minute break. Gonna drink some water.
All right, I'm gonna get some food. All right,
I'm gonna eat some food.
Watch the trailer. It's great. It's one of the best trailers I've seen so far.
It's such a good trailer. Speculate endlessly. Hype cycle. Hype for the hype god.
Yeah. Oh man. Fucking Blood Knights running into Cossacks. Oh, that's the best part.
So
I think that specific part I've rewatched a lot.
So yeah, in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I will be back with some more Alpha Protocol. But until then, I will.
You've gone
see
from happy to sad.
happy to sad. We're going full sad mode. So until then, I will see you around.
All right,
See you in
bye.
20 minutes. Bye.
This was fun.